Have you been given a problem such as this one in which a adjusting entry was made in error and you've been asked to calculate what the net income should be and you're not quite sure how to do it? Well, you've come to the right place because I'm Professor Capko and I'm going to make this super easy for you in today's video. But first, I want to say something wonderful is about to happen to you, so be on the lookout for it. And now back to the video. In this problem, ABC Company shows a net income of $125,000. An audit shows, however, that the following adjusting entry was made. If you don't know what adjusting entries are, I've done some videos on them and I'm linking one up here for you. You can check out. In this one, we debited prepaid insurance for $1,000 and we credited insurance expense for $1,000. What, if anything, is wrong with that entry and what should net income be? Let's first address the first part of it. What's wrong with this entry? Well, prepaid insurance is an asset. And I like to show these with some T accounts. Prepaid insurance is an asset, and assets are increased with debits and decreased with credits. Also, the other part of this transaction is insurance expense. And expense accounts are part of the income statement, and they also are increased with debits and decreased with credits. If you're not sure what type of account something is and whether it should be debited or credited, I've got a video up here in the corner that will help you with that. All right, with this particular transaction, let's go ahead and record what they did. They debited prepaid insurance for $1,000 and they credited insurance expense. Now, this one is a key to know that something's wrong. This is an adjusting entry. Adjusting entries are usually done at the end of a period, and they're used to adjust for things that are used up, such as prepaid insurance, prepaid expenses. Maybe you're adjusting for something like depreciation. Regardless, we're making an adjustment as a bookkeeping entry. No actual cash is changing hands. We're just adjusting for perhaps it's $1,000 a month insurance expense. They prepaid 6 months, so we're using up 1,000 of it. Well, if we're expensing something, we should be increasing our expenses. Very seldom do you credit an expense. Usually that would be either if you've made an error or if you're closing out this account at the end of the period. Here, we're actually crediting it, and for what reason? Well, we've used up some insurance. That shouldn't be a credit, that should be a debit. So what's wrong with this first transaction is we've got it exactly backward because we increased our asset of prepaid insurance by $1,000. So we increased the asset and we decreased the expenses. I'm pretty sure that we intended to do it the other way, that we intended to use up $1,000 of our prepaid insurance and to expense it. So the way that should have been is it should have been a debit of $1,000 to the insurance expense, and it should have been a credit, which would have reduced the prepaid insurance by $1,000. So we would have credited the asset of prepaid insurance. If you're finding this material helpful so far, I would recommend you stick around to the end because I'm going to show you a way to make this more simple in the concept. And thank you for the thumbs up. I really appreciate those of you that are hitting the thumbs up. It really helps with the channel. So let's look at what we've got to do to correct this. Again, we are told that our net income is $125,000. And net income, of course, is going to be our revenues minus our expenses. So our expenses here were recorded incorrectly. In fact, because we credited the expense instead of debiting it, our expenses are too low. We've understated our expenses. Our expenses should be higher. So let's look at this. So if we were to say that it's just $1,000 off, then we would change this net income by that amount. So let's say we reduce the net income by $1,000 because we overstated it. We understated our expenses. Our expenses were actually $1,000 higher than they were indicated. So we're down to $124,000 for a net income. But that is still not correct. It's not correct because if you look at this, all we've done is we've credited here insurance expense for 1,000, and then we corrected it by debiting insurance expense for 1,000. That is a net zero. Which is not correct because we actually used up some insurance. Likewise, prepaid insurance, the net effect of this is zero. So that is still not correct because we actually used up $1,000 of insurance and we need to reflect that. So we actually need another entry in which we debit insurance expense. This is now for the actual $1,000 of insurance that we used up, and we need to credit prepaid insurance for $1,000, and that will reduce the prepaid insurance, the asset that we had here, whatever amount it was as a beginning balance. We're not showing it. We've now reduced it by $1,000. The $2,000 is because the $1,000 here is to offset this erroneous increase of prepaid insurance. We increased the prepaid insurance erroneously by 1,000, so we had to back that back out by 1,000. So the net effect of these two is just to zero each other out. Now we need to actually reduce it by $1,000, and that's what we're doing here, and we're expensing it here. So we actually have to subtract another $1,000 from our net income because again, our expenses were understated. They're actually higher than that. So our final net income is $123,000. So we should have two entries, one to back it out where we debit insurance expense and credit prepaid insurance, and then we do the adjusting entry where we debit insurance expense and we credit prepaid insurance. That's why we reduce it by $2,000, twice the amount of the error. Now, you might be saying, I'm still a little bit confused. Well, let's try and do it super simple here. Let's just pretend you have a checking account and the balance in your checking account is $1,000. And let's say you pay a bill. You pay your bill and the bill was $100. So you write a check for $100 and pay that bill. But when you put it into your checkbook, you make a mistake. And instead of subtracting 1,000, instead of subtracting 100, you add 100, which is what happened here. Instead of subtracting 1,000, we added 1,000. So we're going to add 100 here. So our bank balance in our checkbook is showing $1,100, but in reality, it should be the $1,000 minus $100. It should be $900 because we paid a $100 bill. The difference between $1,100 and $900 is $200. We're $200 off. And that's twice the amount of the error, and that makes sense because we need to take this money out that we erroneously put in, so we're back down to the 1,000, and we need to go ahead and subtract out the 100 that we paid the bill, and that brings us to the correct amount of the $900. That's why there's two entries here, and likewise two entries here. And that is all I have for you today on this. I hope you found it helpful. And if you would, I've got a free newsletter at AskProfessorCapko.com you can sign up for. You can also become a member of this channel, and there's some special membership benefits. You can just hit the join button and get some special perks for members, including some live sessions with me. And so take a look at that. There's other ways to support this channel down in the description. You can buy some of the merch, and I would appreciate it. It would definitely help. And what really helps is if you subscribe and share this with others and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Thank you.